Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Idea Gen Global Podcast with George Sifakis.
I'm George Sifakis. In a world overflowing with noise, there is one forum where the world's smartest voices connect, where visionaries sit at the same table as innovators, and great minds don't just talk, they act.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Monday, January 26th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. A mostly cloudy day on the way. High 27. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy. Low 14, and then Tuesday, sunshine. The high's just going to be 20. If you're walking out the door with us right now, it's 21 and cloudy in Yonkers up in Westchester County, 22 and cloudy in Elizabeth over in New Jersey, and it's 25 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
Yeah, we got pretty walloped by Sunday's storm. Mayor Mamdani not popular with kids across the city. There's some good news in the 2-week-old nurses strike. An Wisconsin father and son lucky to be alive. Imagine being stuck in the Caribbean today and complaining about it. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. Of course, it's all about this storm that just hit us all day yesterday. Now, here in the city, it seems to have stopped overnight, but I can tell you from my drive in yesterday and just looking at the streets as I walked in this morning, it is not good out there. I mean, you're not seeing a lot of pavement. Even places where the sidewalks are normally shoveled here in Midtown, it's icy. Some places it's clear, but it's going to be tough going no matter where you go today. And it is one of those things where if you can work from home, take the day off, kids likely are home today, it's probably a good idea. And we've been talking to New Yorkers who have been out and about already. Some people trying to get to work because they have to.
Actually, I was about to go clean my building. I got a building I got to take care of, so that's why I was trying to go, thinking the streets was clear enough, but it's not.
No, and you'll see, again, some of the streets are semi-clear, I guess is the best way to describe it. The side streets, they need a makeover in a big way. And then you had the mayor holding, 72 press conferences over the weekend just to show that he's on top of it. Mayor Mamdani telling New Yorkers to stay near home today if you can. He says it's not just snow, but of course it's not going to warm up until next Monday.
It carries temperatures colder than any sustained period this city has experienced for 8 years. For those without shelter, the intense cold can be fatal.
At least 5 New Yorkers passed away over the weekend, found out in the cold. A code blue effect in effect until at least next week. So this is so they can take homeless people off the streets, bring them into shelters. Mayor Mamdani says there is enough place to put everybody.
Yesterday alone, before the snow had even begun to come down, at least 5 New Yorkers passed away and were found outside. I send my deepest condolences to their families and loved ones.
Yeah, so that was even before the snow began. On Sunday, Mayor Mamdani says warming centers, shelters, hospitals, safe havens, all available for people who need a place to go to shelter from the cold today.
And DSS staff and partners are checking in on our most vulnerable residents every 2 hours. But I also ask New Yorkers to help us in this moment of need. If you see anyone you believe might require help, please do not wait to call 311.
Now, clearly, the mayor is not looking for the kids' vote because he decided this was about noon yesterday that public schools will not be in session in the schoolroom, but that remote learning will be in place today. And he says the New York City school system, of course, had a lot of practice over this during the pandemic. And so it isn't a snow day. In fact, you have to get on your laptop this morning if you're a kid and do some remote learning.
Due to extreme weather conditions, tomorrow will be a remote school day. There will be no in-person instruction. All after-school programs, adult education, and school-based programming has been canceled.
Yeah, but you still have to get on your laptop. That decision affects about 500,000 students, 1,100 schools across the city. It makes Mayor Mamdani not very popular with them.
In advance of tomorrow's remote school day, as well as 77,000 teachers. We say that because we want the city to know that our teachers, administrators, and students are prepared for this. We have stress-tested systems, sent students home with the materials and technology they need to learn virtually, and are working with vendors to ensure that our systems have the capacity that they need.
Now, I will point out, almost anywhere else you go across the tri-state this morning, there's no school and there is no remote school. So it's a true snow day, but I think the end of snow days is really here in New York City. They say they can't afford to use them, and so they're not using one today. Lots of people, of course, just taking it all in, enjoying the snow. You have this family we found from California who made their way to Central Park to try sledding for the first time.
I'm from California originally. This is my first New York snow. So I was like, we have to go sledding. Yeah.
We just took some cardboard and then trash bags and
a little bit of love.
A lot of duct tape.
Can't put a price on joy.
Yeah, and there was apparently just a good vibe in Central Park yesterday. People were cross-country skiing. I don't know if you saw those people. There were, of course, like hundreds, maybe thousands of sledders in different parts of the park all day yesterday.
It's just very surreal because you're in New York City, right? And obviously it's this giant city, but there's, only people in the park who are exercising, usually with their dogs or their kids and sledding, and the vibe is just like insanely good.
And no matter where you went across the city, I mean, it was hard getting around, but people seemed to, like the fact that they were getting hit hard.
I mean, we're New Yorkers. We were here in 1996 when we had the 27 whatever inches of snow, and we didn't have boots, and we took a subway to Bloomingdale's to buy some. So, so we remember that. So we love a good snowstorm, and then then it can go away.
Yeah, I remember that storm. Unfortunately, the snow is not going to go anywhere because it's going to stay cold through next Monday. In New Jersey, over in Mahwah, they got about a foot of snow. The snowplow driver was out from yesterday afternoon into last night.
I've seen probably 6 today, cars that went off the road on Route 17 here. They called a state of an emergency, and nobody's supposed to be on the road, but unfortunately, they do.
Yeah, so that state of emergency went into place yesterday, but people were out, including these guys, who said they had to get to the gym to get their workout in.
Yeah, I just wanted to go to the gym.
Okay.
Just wanted to get a good gym lift in. So, you know what? Nothing stops the gains.
I like that. On Long Island, in Bethpage, people were shoveling out their driveways last night, watching the plows, trucks go by, and then put the snow back into their driveway.
Not as bad as they said they was, but now it's turned to ice. They've been up and down this road at least half a dozen times.
Now, lots of businesses across the tri-state told their workers to stay home. But in Bethpage, there's the Embassy Diner, and he said he stayed open because he wanted to feed people who were out and about, like snowplow drivers.
I'm not making money today. 100% I'm not making money. But even for those 2 people or 3 people who have nowhere else to go, it's okay for us to be open.
I've been out since 10:30 this morning. Going to be out for another 5-6 hours, so it's good to be able to find a place to sit down and eat. Back out to it.
Yeah, good for you at the Embassy Diner. In a moment, we'll go everywhere else. I think we haven't hit the Hudson Valley. We'll tell you about some flight issues that are causing some problem. WABC News Time 5:09. Let's go up to the Hudson Valley where they got more than a foot of snow. Found some people out walking their dogs.
It is really cold right now. We are out right now just walking our dog Fern. We have to take her to the pet store to get some winter boots so we can continue to walk Fern. Besides that, we're probably not going to spend too much time outside today.
Okay, flight issues piling up yesterday. By the end of this is by late afternoon yesterday, there were 3,400 flights canceled across the country, 1,200 delayed. There'll be more issues, no doubt, today as they have to get crews from one place to another. But you had a lot of warning, and a lot of those people rebooked on other flights. But the people who had to fly, they said it took a while to get from one place to another.
We're going straight. Instead of going nonstop from here to Honolulu, we're going to LAX and down. I decided to go to a warm place and go down.
Yeah, smart. There were people who found themselves canceling the last part of their vacation, right? So because they had to get back home, so they left a day early just to make sure that their flight got them back home.
It's scary because we're leaving the wife and the younger brother at home. So we're just hoping the power doesn't go out and they're okay. We got the firewood all set aside and the neighbors are there to help them.
So I don't know what they're going to do because it's going to be shut down. You know, they probably missed a trip.
We had to leave our vacation a day and a half early, so that's kind of frustrating. We're hoping getting out early gets us in, but you just never know.
Yeah, so some of those people ended up being trapped at the airport, but the airlines seemed to do a pretty good job of either rebooking people or warning them that their flight was not going to take off, and then all across the tri-state. Yesterday was a great excuse to cook up a storm. In fact, I was at the grocery store on Saturday afternoon. And by the way, I was shocked that it wasn't as packed as I thought it was going to be. And there was stuff on the shelf. So it seems like the supermarkets did a pretty good job of ordering stuff ahead of time. But then yesterday was used as an excuse to sort of have a Thanksgiving. In fact, the woman who checked me out, there was no self-checkout, I guess, at this store. So she said it feels like Thanksgiving. That's what people are buying, like whole hams and turkeys and chickens. And people went to town yesterday. You might as well if you're stuck indoors.
Cake and some cookies.
That sounds good.
Some candy.
I've
got spaghetti, tuna, egg, pretzels, and apples.
Yeah.
Cabernet. So, haven't got there yet, but I've got some at home, but got to have plenty of that.
Cabernet, yeah, that's a good way to get through it. All right, so you're asking Noam, are you going to tell us the totals? What were the final snowstorm totals? This is what we can tell you. They were impressive. Here in the city, in Central Park, 11.4 inches, which is a record for the day on Sunday, the most snow since 2022. Up in the Bronx and Fordham, 13.5 inches. Over in Williamsburg and Brooklyn, 11 inches. Washington Heights, almost 15 inches of snow. Heavier snowfalls extend well beyond the city into the Hudson Valley and Westchester, Hastings on the Hudson, 12.5 inches. Somer, 17 inches. Parts of Rockland County, like Conyers, 15 inches. New City, 18 inches of snow. Over in New Jersey, including Bergen, Essex, Passaic, and Union counties, we were seeing widespread amounts, but they were all exceeding a foot. So in Leonia, which is closer to the George Washington Bridge, 15 inches of snow. In Mahwah, 14.5 inches of snow. In Bayonne, 13.5, and in Tenafly, 16 inches of snow. And I don't want to forget you folks out on Long Island. We were seeing between Nassau and Suffolk County anywhere from a foot to about 14 inches of snow, places like Setauket. So we got not as much snow necessarily as they predicted, but over a foot in almost every single place across the city. So today, no doubt, will be a day to dig yourself out if you weren't doing it all day yesterday. And you should be careful, of course. We get this warning every time. Be careful about shoveling because it could give you a heart attack.
Shoveling snow can be very dangerous.
Shoveling snow is one of those uniquely dangerous cardiovascular stress tests for a variety of reasons.
Mayo Clinic cardiologist Sharon Hayes says your blood vessels constrict from being out in the cold, which increases blood pressure, and that could be enough to give someone chest pains.
It's that combination of cold, extreme exertion, and then maybe sticking it out longer than is wise.
So check with your doctor about advice when it comes to shoveling snow. Lisa G., 77 WABC News.
All right, so here's what we know. Over a foot of snow fell across the tri-state. Today will be a day to do cleanup. Now, as you heard from Joe Nolan, some of the main thoroughfares seem to be doing okay, but the side streets, it'll be a while till some of them are plowed out. Most people will probably have work from home day or the day off. New Jersey Transit is supposed to get moving again this morning after being suspended yesterday. What we have been told is the light rails will be working. Buses may be less so check if you're somebody who takes a bus. New Jersey Transit trains should be running, back rolling, but definitely check the schedules to make sure everything's on time. And we'll do that for you actually all morning long to let you know what New Jersey Transit is doing. So keep it here for the latest on the storm. Now the latest on the cleanup and this deep freeze right here at 77 WABC. All right, 5:15 now. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Good morning to you, Noam Liddon. The weekend that was conference championship weekend, that is, or yesterday, I should say. Your final from Denver, the earlier game, the AFC championship game. This was a weird one, Noam Liddon. Game started, and dare I say, the sun was out in Denver. And by the end of the fourth quarter, but really by the start of the fourth quarter, that field was blanketed in just about 4 or 5 inches of snow. These guys sliding all over the place. So this game ends 10-7. Patriots, they do prevail. I don't think there was a first down. Really?
No.
Within the last quarter of this game, each team was just punting back and forth to each other, basically daring the other side to try and score some points. And the Patriots leaning on their defense late there against Jarrett Stidham, backup quarterback for Denver and the Broncos. And the Patriots back in the Super Bowl already. You thought it'd be a longer wait, didn't you? No,
we hoped it would be a longer wait.
Yeah.
It's enough with them going to the Super Bowl, but give the Kraft organization the credit, man. Yeah. They know what they're doing.
100%. Mike Vrabel, he's a great head coach. They got a quarterback in Drake May, and they are off and running. It's a good football team heading to Super Bowl 60, and they will meet the Seattle Seahawks in Super Bowl 60, NFC Championship game last night. Seahawks beating the Rams 31-27. Sammy Darnold getting the job done. So a couple weeks from yesterday, you get Super Bowl 60 gearing up now for it. Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, the home of the San Francisco 49ers, of course. And it'll be Seahawks against the Patriots. Seattle opens up as 4.5-point favorites. Also coming out of the NFL yesterday, the Giants are officially hiring Denard Wilson as their defensive coordinator. Sources told ESPN. They are also expected to hire former Baltimore Ravens special teams coordinator Chris Horton for the same role on Coach John Harbaugh's staff. Wilson, the 43-year-old, who spent the previous 2 seasons as a DC for the Tennessee Titans, has a connection to Harbaugh, serving under him as the Ravens defensive backs coach in 2023. Head to the ice in Seattle. The Devils got doubled up on by the Kraken. The final score 4-2. Up next for Jersey, they'll host Winnipeg come tomorrow night. And on the hardwood in Los Angeles, the Nets lost 126-89 to the Clippers. Up next for them, they'll be at Phoenix tomorrow in the second game of a 5-game trip. That is your Sports Noam, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 520. Let's go out to Minneapolis, where narratives over the shooting of a 37-year-old Alex Preddy clashed over the weekend as President Trump's administration accused him of violently resisting arrest, while his family members remembered him as a kind-hearted soul. Preddy, a U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs ICU nurse, is the second person to be shot and killed in Minneapolis this month. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the victim, who was armed, violently resisted arrest and that the federal agent fired his weapon fearing for his life. Footage of the incident shows an agent disarm Preddy shortly before he was killed. He entered into the initial scuffle with agents as he tried to assist another protester who had been pushed by law enforcement. Now, everybody's giving their own view on this thing. The Attorney General, here's Pam Bondi talking about it yesterday.
They were out there arresting a violent offender, and then this guy comes up.
Attorney General Pam Bondi says Minnesota leadership has failed the people there.
Well, why this has happened in Minneapolis is because you have a mayor, you have a governor who has declared Minneapolis a sanctuary city. I was there all week, as you saw. I was in Minneapolis, and we are going to protect our churches. We are going to protect our great men and women in law enforcement.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem defending law enforcement officials after that fatal shooting. She was on Fox News yesterday, says the agents and officers were fearing for their life in that moment.
When he did that, interacting with those agents, when they tried to get him to disengage, he became aggressive and resisted them throughout that process.
It is the third shooting involving federal immigration agents in Minneapolis in just the last 3 weeks.
These are not just agitators anymore, they're violent protests.
Now, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz disagrees. He says the Trump administration is conducting a campaign of organized brutality in his state. Walz says the American that was killed by ICE agents during an operation was legally carrying a firearm.
All of us understand what happened this morning and the tragedy of it, and my deepest sympathies to the family of a 37-year-old Minnesota resident.
The governor called on Minnesotans to peacefully protest and once again asked President Trump to take ICE out of Minnesota.
As I told the White House in no uncertain terms this morning, the federal government cannot be trusted to lead this investigation. The state will handle it, period. We know that the potential to further inflame tensions is high. And to Minnesotans, there's a difference. We want calm and peace and normalcy back to our lives. Donald Trump, I call on you once again. Remove this force from Minnesota.
We heard the same thing from Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry, requesting assistance now from the National Guard in Minneapolis.
Our incredible Minneapolis police officers have been working tirelessly to do their day-to-day work, and simultaneously they are put in the middle of these chaotic situations. We will not be able to do this on our own.
The Mayor Fry criticizing the actions by the Trump White House.
The chaos that we are seeing is caused directly by ICE, Border Control, and this federal administration. Our top priority is keeping our neighbors and businesses safe, and the additional support will help us do that.
And Mayor Fry calling for calm in Minneapolis, telling people to peacefully protest.
I understand that people are angry. I'm angry. I understand that people are experiencing trauma. It makes sense. Our communities have been placed on the very front line, and this has been ongoing now for weeks. It must end.
WABC News Time 524. The Senate's top Democrat, meanwhile, vowing his party will block a bill funding the Department of Homeland Security after this latest shooting.
This comes after Saturday's deadly shooting of a Minnesota man by a federal agent. In a post on X, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said Democrats will not provide the votes to proceed to the appropriations bill if the DHS funding bill is included. He called the situation in Minnesota appalling and unacceptable in any American city. On Thursday, House Democrats voted with nearly all House Republicans to pass a $64.4 billion funding bill that included around $10 billion for ICE. I'm Michael Kastner.
WABC News Time 524. President Trump says he's now going to place a 100% tariff on all Canadian goods if the country makes a trade deal with China.
In a post on Truth Social, the president called Prime Minister Mark Carney governor and said he's sorely mistaken if Canada becomes a drop-off port for China to send goods into the U.S. Trump said China will eat Canada alive and destroy their businesses, social fabric, and general way of life. Trump said if the trade deal is struck, the tariff will be placed against Canada immediately. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Another of the FBI's 10 most wanted back on American soil, Alejandro Rosales Castillo, arrived in Charlotte, North Carolina over the weekend after being captured in Mexico.
It is truly, truly an honor, and I'm so proud to be back here in Charlotte and handing this fugitive over to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, where he belongs, and he will be prosecuted here to the fullest extent of the law.
FBI Director Kash Patel announcing the handover hours after former Olympic snowboarder and accused drug trafficker Ryan Wedding was arrested in Mexico, flown to Southern California. Castillo is accused of killing a former co-worker, 23-year-old Sandy Lely, back in 2016. He was last seen crossing the Arizona-Mexico border, was added to the 10 most wanted fugitive list back in 2017, so they really wanted to get him. Patel also talking about the fact that this comes at the same time that they were able to grab Ryan Wedding.
It is truly, truly a historic moment when you can deliver not one, but two of the FBI's most wanted fugitives in one single day.
We traced his pattern through family and friends in Phoenix and the Arizona area. We tracked him crossing the border. We traced him down to a town in Mexico, and we started to try to find him.
Always good to know that the FBI never gives up on looking for these individuals, too, in the course of 3 or 4 days. That off the most wanted list is really an amazing job. 526. President Trump says it is too late to stop construction of the new ballroom at the White House.
In a post on Truth Social, the president described the ballroom as a gift to the U.S. Trump estimated it cost $300 million, and it was financed through private donations. The president said a lawsuit brought by the National Trust for Historic Preservation was filed after construction began. Trump questioned why these obstructionists and troublemakers didn't bring their baseless lawsuit much earlier. I'm Mark Mayfield.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Monday, January 26th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. A mostly cloudy day on the way. High 27. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy. Low 14, and then Tuesday, sunshine. The high's just going to be 20. If you're walking out the door with us right now, it's 21 and cloudy in Yonkers up in Westchester County, 22 and cloudy in Elizabeth over in New Jersey, and it's 25 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 541. New Yorkers who are out and about this morning say it's a little dicey out there if you have to go to work or get somewhere.
Actually, I was about to go clean my building. I got a building I got to take care of, so that's why I was trying to go, thinking the streets was clear enough, but it's not.
Mayor Mamdani last night warning New Yorkers to stay near home if you can. He says it's not just the snow, but it's not going to warm up until next Monday.
It carries temperatures colder than any sustained period this city has experienced for 8 years. For those without shelter, the intense cold can be fatal.
Now, shelters are open for people who don't have a warm place.
And DSS staff and partners are checking in on our most vulnerable residents every 2 hours. But I also ask New Yorkers to help us in this moment of need. If you see anyone you believe might require help, please do not wait to call 311.
And a lot of public school kids not happy to hear that public schools here in the city shifting to remote learning today, so you don't get any kind of official snow day.
Due to extreme weather conditions, tomorrow will be a remote school day. There will be no in-person instruction. All after-school programs, adult education, and school-based programming has been canceled.
Yeah, the old-fashioned snow day may have gone away for good. Over in New Jersey, Mahwah saw about a foot of snow. The snowplow driver out trying to clean it up last night.
I've seen probably 6 today, cars that went off the road on Route 17 here. They called a state of an emergency, and nobody's supposed to be on the road, but unfortunately they do.
Yeah, the snowstorm left some impressive totals across the tri-state here in Central Park. 11 inches of snow up in the Bronx, in Fordham, 13 inches over in Williamsburg and Brooklyn. They got 11 inches of snow. Washington Heights, 15 inches. In Westchester, the highest total was in Somers. They got 17 inches of snow. Up in Orange and Rockland County and New City, they got 17 inches of snow. So a big time totals there. And over in New Jersey, Mahwah, 14 inches of snow. Bayonne, 13 inches. Tenafly seems to be the most that I've seen here anyway. 16 inches of snow. WABC News Time 544. And then amid all that snowstorm yesterday, a father and his 13-year-old son had to be dramatically rescued, from a pond in Nesconset, Gibbs Pond. Now, what they were doing on this pond in the middle, the height of the snowstorm yesterday, it's not clear, but they fell through the ice, and the Nesconset fire chief, along with an individual who lives in the community, helped save these father and son. This was about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
They were very, very obviously cold. We got them out to the ambulance. We wrapped them up. We treated them for hypothermia. They are extremely lucky.
Yeah, so Bradley Fils-Ain, he's the one that heard the cries for help coming from the water. I mean, lucky for this father and son. I mean, there was nobody out. This is when the snow was really coming down hard. But this kid, he's a teenager. He happened to be out. He heard their cries for help. And lucky for them, he notified his father, who's an off-duty fire lieutenant, FDNY fire lieutenant. So they raced over. They called the firefighters. And between the firefighters and the father and son, then they were able to get this other father and son out of the water.
My first reaction was just to help. If he didn't act on it and nobody heard those two in the back, you never know what could have happened.
Yeah, so the rescue took place, again, the height of the winter storm. Few people outdoors. It could have been deadly, but thank God these two, the father and son, they're going to be okay. All right, 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Ellick.
Thank you, Noah Maleta. Start with the Sunday that was championship weekend in the NFL. Out in Denver, Patriots edging out the Broncos in that snow game, what turned into a snow game. And the final score there, 10-7. So New England, they head back to the Super Bowl with just a little bit of a different hierarchy than the last time they were there. Mike Vrabel, head coach, and Drake May, the quarterback. Obviously, a new era out there in New England. Very exciting stuff, getting them back to the Super Bowl. And then out in Seattle last night, the Seahawks beat the Rams 31-27. Sam Darnold and the 1-seed Seahawks, they make it all the way through the bracket on the NFC side and into Super Bowl 60. So, Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California, the usual home of the San Francisco 49ers. That'll be your host in a couple of weeks for Super Bowl 60, and Seattle opens up as 4.5-point favorites there. Also coming out of the NFL yesterday, the Giants are officially hiring Denard Wilson as their defensive coordinator. They're also expected to hire former Baltimore Ravens special teams coordinator Chris Horton for the same role on Coach John Harbaugh's staff. Sources also did confirm. Wilson, 43-year-old who spent the previous 2 seasons as the DC for the Tennessee Titans, has a connection to Harbaugh, serving under him as the Ravens defensive backs coach in 2023. Head to the ice in Seattle, where the Devils got doubled up on by the Kraken, the final score 4-2. Up next for them, they'll host Winnipeg come tomorrow night. Out in L.A., the Nets lost 126-89 to the Clippers. Up next for Brooklyn, they'll be at Phoenix tomorrow in the second game of a 5-game trip. That is your Sports Noah, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:49. Out in Brooklyn, there was a fire that broke out at the height of the storm yesterday. Rockaway Parkway in Brownsville. Brownsville was about 2 o'clock. The fire broke out in the 3rd floor of a building. This is somebody who had to race to get out of that building.
I noticed that when I came from the bathroom, I smelled smoke. So I went to the door, and all of a sudden I just seen fire. So I hurried up and put my clothes on, and then when I'm coming out the door, I saw the lady on fire, so I helped her, and I came downstairs. That's when everybody started coming downstairs.
We're being told about 79 fire and EMS personnel raced to the scene to help people get out of the building. Now, that woman says she saw somebody on fire, but the FDNY says there was no serious injury, so let's hope that is the case. 5:50, the snowstorm left a Long Island family stranded in the Caribbean and more than $20,000 in resorts fees. Nora Orlando says she and her family tried to get home ahead of the storm. They canceled their last night at the Royalton Antigua to fly back to New York on Saturday, but that flight was canceled and the resort could only accommodate them for one extra night. She says they charged them $3,300 for that one night, and then they said when they tried to move over to another resort, they wanted to charge them $18,000. Oh my God, no wonder these people wanted to get home. She says she's hoping somehow she can get her money back from the hotel or maybe the airline. Here she was talking to News 12 yesterday.
We're going to be paying this forever. It's not like we chose to stay here. We were trying desperately to get home. Yeah. And they did not make it easy, and they were not compassionate at all.
Now, Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman saying yesterday that some travelers may be being price gouged, and I don't know if that's the case here. Maybe that's what it costs for a night at the Royalton Antigua. 5:51, doctor's warning, of course, because it's going to be so cold. Today's going to be the warmest day. It's going to be 27 degrees, and then after that, we're in the 20s and the teens up until next Monday. And so they're warning you about the risk of frostbite and hypothermia amid the frigid temperatures. Here's an emergency room doctor who says frostbite can happen in just 15 minutes with wind chills when they're below zero, which is going to happen.
If you start to feel numbness, tingling, any burning in your hands, that is a sign to, get inside and warm up your hands. Those are some of the first signs of frostbite.
Of course, the problem with hypothermia and frostbite is they just come on so quickly. Sometimes you're just out too long, you don't realize it.
Hypothermia can set in actually quite fast. Your mind kind of almost can go blank, and you might not know exactly what's going on, which makes you be outside even more.
Yeah, so minus today, if you're going to be going out, short excursions, and of course the obvious thing is bundle up. 5:52. There is sign of progress in the 2-week-old nurses strike here in the city. The nurses union says they've reached a deal on maintaining health benefits at 2 of the hospitals. That was one of the key sticking points. The New York State Nurses Association says Mount Sinai and New York Presbyterian have agreed to keep the nurses' current health plan.
I'm excited. Hopefully we'll make some headway, and the nurses are excited too. It's a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, so still the nurses must reach a final tentative contract agreement. Now, due to the winter storm, they weren't on the picket lines yesterday. They're not going to be on the picket lines today. But the hospital's releasing statements that they're feeling positive about what's going on as well. This is already week 2 of the strike, so they want these nurses back, and so do the nurses. They say they want back on the job, too.
We need fair contracts now because I know that people are going to suffer, and that is not what we want.
Patients are your family.
Yeah, so we do not have any official word of when they're going to be back in talks. It may be today. Of course, as that information comes into us, we'll pass that on to you. 5:53. We now know when Luigi Mangioni's trial could start.
Jury selection is expected to begin in September in the federal trial of the accused United Healthcare CEO killer, Mangione. A judge set jury selection for September 8th, noting a trial could begin October 13th if the death penalty sentence is off the table, something Mangione's defense attorneys are trying to achieve. If capital punishment ends up being an option for a sentence upon potential conviction, Mangione's trial would not start until January of 2027. It was December of 2024 when Brian Thompson was shot dead in Midtown Manhattan. James Flippin, 477 WABC News.
Governor Kathy Hochul sharing her outrage after Saturday's deadly ICE-involved shooting in Minneapolis. She held a news conference Sunday, says the shooting is a continuation of a deadly pattern of violence.
Their cruelty, these incidences, what is going on and unfolding in the streets of America today, shocks the conscience of every human being with a heart.
The man shot has been identified, 37-year-old Alex Preddy, an ICU nurse. This marks the 3rd shooting involving federal immigration agents in Minneapolis in under 3 weeks.
Yesterday in Minneapolis, federal immigration agents killed another American citizen in broad daylight. His name was Alex Preddy. He was 37 years old. Department of Homeland Security pushing back against that narrative, saying that he was dangerous and that the agents did what they needed to do in that moment. 5:54, family members of a man who was shot and killed by a Newark police officer rallying over the weekend demanding justice. The New Jersey Attorney General's office is investigating this shooting. Now, one of the men shot has now been identified, 42-year-old Wally Bay, and it was his family that was out protesting over the weekend. They say they haven't been told exactly what took place and why their loved one, this 42-year-old, was shot. They say he was not armed at that moment.
We don't have our uncle, our father. We don't have him anymore.
My nephew.
A cousin. Everyone that was involved, we need them off the force, no pension, nothing. Nothing.
Now, the Attorney General's office says the officer fired a weapon on 2 men, including Bay, who were in a car in the area of Ross Street and Evergreen Avenue in Newark. They say the plainclothes officers and some in uniform were conducting some surveillance in the area, but the Bay family says they still don't know why their father, their uncle, their brother was targeted.
There's no video footage of what's being released for what happened to my brother. None. Where is it?
Yeah, Attorney General's office says it continues to do its investigation. The family says they'll continue to protest until they have more answers. Over the weekend, former New Jersey Governor Richard, better known as Dick Cody, was laid to rest. First, he laid in state at the New Jersey State House Rotunda. He died back on January 11th at the age of 79. Many New Jersey officials paying their respects over the weekend to the former governor, including the current governor, Mikey Sherrill.
Governor Cody was one of kind. He was a mentor of mine from the earliest days. I remember going around the Florham Park Diner with him, which was in a more red part of the district I would eventually serve. And everyone in that diner loved him. It crossed political boundaries. He was somebody that connected with people.
Yeah, I can tell you one of the good guys, having met him a number of times over the years. Cody first served as acting governor for a brief time in 2002 after Christine Todd Whitman's resignation to join President Bush's administration. Then he held the post again in an unusual situation for 14 months after Jim McGreevey was forced to resign back in 2004.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Busted. The reviews are in.
Awesome.
You wanted more Joe Concha. And we heard you. More Joe. More show.
We're talking to you. Under promise and over deliver.
Joe Concha. Weeknights at 9. Plus Sunday mornings at 11 on 77 WABC.
Jimmy Kimmel no longer tries to be funny. Not that he ever really was.
Joe Concha. Weeknights at 9. Plus Sunday mornings at 11.
Democrats defending cocaine coming into the country.